Hello everyone, welcome back to another Paint and Sip with the Studio for Art and Craft. My name is Aileen and today we are going to be painting Moose Lake. Now to start this painting, as you can see, I already have my canvas traced out. I also have all of my paints poured out and measured just like yours. I'm going to start by taking my 3/4 inch flat brush, and I am going to take 1 full scoop of my white, and I'm going to do this 6 times. So I'll have 6 full scoops of my white, and they don't have to all be exactly the same, just an eyeball estimate. Perfect. And then I am going to take the same brush and grab just a small amount of the cobalt blue by dipping my brush just into the edge of the paint, not too worried about getting paints mixed together. And doing the same for my Mars Black, just taking a small amount, dipping it right in, getting a little bit on the brush, taking all of those colors and mixing them together. Now, what I'm creating right now is just my background color, and I'm going to use this to paint in my entire canvas, and that's why we're using so much paint. So you should have a pretty good sized glob of this light gray, light blue mixture. And I'm going to take some of this paint and I am just going to start getting it on my canvas. In horizontal strokes, I'm going to fill in my whole canvas, and I'm going to also be adding water. And now what this does is it thins down the paint so that I can use less paint to fill up my whole canvas, and so that I can still see my tracing underneath. So if you've gotten to a point where you can't see the lines underneath, then you should add a little bit more water to your painting, because we do not want to lose our tracing. Now, if you can't get it back, if you keep putting more and more water and you can't get it back, it's not the biggest deal in the world. You know, we'll be able to eyeball spots. You'll see my painting, so you'll be able to eyeball where certain things will be able to go. But we're gonna try to keep it as light of a layer as possible. As you can see, I'm dipping more into water than I am the paint. But I'm just gonna take a second to fill up my whole painting with this color. And I'm gonna try to only go horizontally. So I'm only going this way across my painting. Getting a little bit more water. Finding my moose. I swear he's still under there. So I'm just using the water to drag all the paint that I've added to this corner and bring it over here so I can fill up my whole canvas. This step is probably going to take the longest out of all of the steps, just because we have to fill in the whole thing. Now, if this step takes you a little longer, feel free to pause me. If it takes you a little less time, feel free to fast forward, because I know that this can be a bit quicker for some people. It can take a little bit longer for others. If you find yourself running out of the paint that you've mixed up, which I'm also finding myself in that same position, don't be afraid to mix up a little bit more. So what I would do at this point is I'm only going to use 3 whole scoops of white and then very small amounts of the blue and the black. Only dipping in the corners. Mixing that all together, creating the same color. Or as close as it can be. And then I'll get that right on the canvas. Beautiful. Use whatever I've got left to clean everything up. Nice. Okay. Keep in mind I've stayed horizontal this entire time, or I've tried to. Now next I'm going to take the same brush that I just had, and I'm not going to rinse it or wash it off or anything. I am just going to take 2 scoops of our white. We're mixing a new color. And then a small amount of the black again. And a small amount of the blue again. And then a small amount of the green oxide that we have. And remember, for the small amounts, we're just dipping the very corner of our brush into the paint, and we're not worried about mixing too much together. Now this is going to create a color similar to the color that we used as our background, but it's a little darker. And we're creating this color because we're going to start going in with some shading. So as you can see, that's my one color versus my other color. It's a little darker. And I'm going in across this line, and I am just going to start making that horizon getting thinner and thinner by the end. And then coming over on this side and doing the same thing. Thinner and thinner. Coming down a little, shading everything. Blending it into the background color. Making sure to keep all of my strokes horizontal again, because keep in mind this is a lake, so we're trying to give the effect of water. Okay, so there's our lake. And then I am also going to do a little here by my moose, and I'm going to go in and just lightly highlight this line. And the same with this. And I'm just I'm going basically right underneath my moose now and just adding more shadows behind him. And we're going to be building onto these layers. So it's not going to look like water just yet. We have a lot to build. Okay. Now, with the same paint that I just created, I am going to just add another small amount of cobalt blue to that same paint that I was just using, and a small amount of the Mars black as well. And now what this is going to do is this is going to make that color even darker so that I can go in and add even more depth to some of these shadows. So I'm taking this even darker color and I'm going back over, coming in here, adding some up here, adding some in here, and then a little over here, a little in here. There's my shadows in my lake. And I might just brush off some of the paint off my brush if I want to remove some of that, because my base is still pretty wet. See how I just pulled all that back? Now, I am rinsing my brush because I am taking the same brush, but I am making a new color. And I am going to start with, again, 2 scoops of my white. And then 2 scoops of the deep yellow. And I can mix that into a nice light yellow color. Pretty. And this is actually a little darker than I want it, so I'm gonna add a little bit more white. I want it to be a nice light yellow. And when I've found the yellow that I like, I am going to be creating my sky. So I'm gonna take my nice light yellow right on my brush and go right into my horizon line. And I'm letting it come off my brush. I'm letting it get less and less. I'm letting it pick up the background color. I'm basically letting it do whatever it wants. And now I'm gonna get most of that paint off my brush because I am just blending. I'm gonna blend all that yellow up. Into the sky. Beautiful. Now, I've noticed some dots of color. I'm just gonna try to cover those up with my same base color that I was using. And then that same darker. Nice. Okay. Now I'm going to take my bigger brush again, and with the same color that I was just using, that nice light yellow, I'm adding a small amount of the chrome orange to it. A very, very small amount. And then I'm going to use that slightly orange color to then just add some notes of orange to the sky. I'm also going to use this color to paint a few reflections in the water. So I'm going to take just a little bit of that orange, and right by my mousse, I'm just going to add a little bit of that orange as a reflection in our water. Okay. Now we are going to take our round brush. Actually, I am mistaken. We are taking our, the small square brush. So you should have a medium, the big one that we've been using, and this small square brush. We are going to be taking 1 part of titanium white with our small brush, and then 2 small amounts of the chrome orange. And then a small amount of the cobalt blue, and another small amount of the Mars black. Mix that all together. Should get a nice light gray. Now I am going to take this color and I am going to start making vertical lines that are going to create trees in the distance, right? So I'm just going up, and if I feel like this is mixing too much with the other colors that I've used on the canvas, I'm just gonna add more paint to my brush. And I'm gonna make sure to vary the size. Try not to pick up too much yellow on my brush. And try not to stress. You know, these are just some teeny tiny trees all the way in the distance, so they don't have to be perfect. These can go on as long as you like. I'm probably going to stop around. There. Pretty. Then I'm going to continue with that same color, creating these trees and just the backgrounds of those. So I'll start with up at the top. And if you run out of any of the color that you've created, feel free to make more. I'm probably gonna end up making more. That's just 1 scoop of white with a little bit of black, blue, and orange. And I'm going in and, oh, I made it a little darker, no big deal. And keep on going. And probably bring it down to about here. And I'm not bringing it all the way down because I am going to be adding green over this and layering everything about a bunch, so not too worried about it. Once I've added that, I am going to take my same brush, rinse it off, because we are going to be mixing a new color. With my small square brush, I'm going to take 2 scoops of my green, 1, 2, and then 1 scoop of my orange, and then a small amount of white and a small amount of black. Mix it all up. And we're going for a nice dark green. Now I'm taking this nice dark green color and making my trees. Going right over where I just put that gray. And just making straight vertical lines. That's it. And I'm not worried about the end of this little island patch here because I still have all my reflections to do underneath. And when you notice that your colors are kind of doing what my colors are doing and they're mixing together a lot, I'm just gonna grab more paint right onto my brush. Try to keep those colors as bold as possible. So now I'm going to remove most paint from my brush. And just start to create that reflection. Add a little bit more of that paint. Bring that reflection down. I'm gonna let the brush lose its paint, let it get dry here. I'm also gonna bring out more of those trees and my reflection. And then use whatever's left of that paint that I had to add to this, my trees. Now I'm going to remix that green, that same green, because I ran out. So that was 2 parts green and then 1 part orange with a little bit of black and white. Got that same nice dark green again. And now what I am going to do is I'm going to take this nice dark green and I'm going to add 1 part of cobalt blue to it and a small amount of black, again, to make it even darker. Should get a very nice dark forest green here. And this is gonna go right on top using less paint. Just gonna add that right on top. And I'm gonna add it to my reflection as well. Now, I'm going to continue to add to this, but for right now, I'm gonna just let that dry because I wanna let all that paint just sit and dry up before I can continue to put more paint on. So for now, we are going to wash off this brush because we are continuing to use it. And I'm going to mix 1 part of my chrome orange with a small amount of black. And this should give you a nice brown. And I'm going to take this brown and use it to paint in my moose, not his antlers though, and my tree trunks. So let's get started. Go right in and paint that moose. And I'm starting by just outlining the lines that I can see. And then continue to fill him in. as you can see, I'm kind of picking up some of my base color here as well, because that dark brown is getting lighter. And that's okay, because anywhere that I want him to be darker, I can just add more paint once this all dries. And that's what I am doing. I'm giving that green a chance to dry so that I can add more paint on top of that as well. Nice. And keep in mind, I am avoiding the antlers, or the, yeah, antlers. Doing my best to keep the lines, but it's not a big deal if you go over or go under. Your moose can be as big as small, as short as tall as you want him to be, her to be. I don't have any rules. No moose rules. Okay, now while that dries, we're gonna take that same color and just create those trunks, and I'm going to come out a little bit as well. Create some branches, go all the way up. And I ran out of my paint, so I'm gonna take another scoop of orange, mix it with a little bit of black, make that brown again. And just go right over this one more time, make it get all the way up there. And this is where I'll say, if you can't see your own tracing, guesstimate based on where I've put some of my lines, because it doesn't have to be perfect and yours can be a little different. It's kind of the fun of it. Do the same thing with our last tree. Make sure to bring it all the way up. And then bring these out. And these don't have to be perfect either. They're gonna get covered up by all of our leaves anyway. Gorgeous. And then go in and, oh, how'd I get blue? Funny. Okay. And I can come back and make him darker once he starts to dry. But for now, I am going to take whatever I have left of my brown, and I'm going to actually have very little brown on my brush, because I am going to add some of this brown into my reflections in the water. So I'm going to add it here, a little here, some here, and this is his reflection in the water. He's a big moose. And then taking that same brush, I'm actually gonna dip back into that darker green that we created earlier and also add that to my water ripples around him. well as the reflections. Yeah. I'm gonna take that dark green and I'm gonna bring it right up to his butt. Bring it in here a little. Even down here. And then I'm gonna take the back of my brush and I'm just going to get in there and take away some of it. Bring back some of my highlights wherever I can. We'll make this a little darker. And I'm gonna keep layering in this darker green until it sticks. Blending it out a little. Beautiful. So now I think I can take that darker green again and add it up into our trees. Yeah, see, that's sticking way better now. And just layering all those colors on top of each other. And then bring it into our horizon line again. Okay. And now I think that if I have any more of my brown left, now's a good time to pick that up and add that into our mousse again. Add a second layer of that just because he's a little light. And then we'll just finish up his face. Beautiful. And now I am going to dip into black with the same brush. and take that to blend into my moose. Blend that into his body, all around his bottom half that's in the water. Okay. Now I'm going to take my same brush, rinse it off, mix up a new color. Oh, bless me. I'm gonna take my green oxide. I'm gonna take 2 scoops of it and mix that along with, oh, actually 1 more scoop of that, and then 3 scoops of my orange. I'll mix these 2 colors together. And I'll add just a little bit of black. Make it a little darker. And I am going to use this color to fill in my grassy hill, making sure to leave those unblended strokes at the end. I'm just filling in the whole bottom of my hill. And then I'm going to take my paint I'm just creating that grass texture. All right. And then I'm going to remix this same color because I'm going to use the same color on my trees. So that's 2 scoops of my green, 2 scoops of my orange, and a little bit of black. Mix it all together. And I am going to take the same brush and just dab the color onto my trees. This is looking a little bit too orange for me, so I'm gonna add a little bit more green to my color. I don't like how brown this color is looking. I had to retry. And then do the same thing on the rest of these trees. And we'll go up the middle, out the sides. up the middle. And I'm doing this with a dotting motion to give it that fuzzier, furry texture of the tree leaves. And then do our last one. Up, out, out, up, up, out, out. Come back down, add a little bit more texture to it all. Beautiful. Now I'm going to take my same brush and just Mars Black, and I'm going to blend this black in this corner here into our nice green lush hill. I'll come back in with my green color, put that right over it. Blend that nice. Now we can rinse off this brush because we are going to be taking our number 2 round brush that's been soaking. And we are going to use that brush to pick up one part of our orange with one part of our deep yellow and then a little bit of black. Now I am going to take this color, and this color is going to be for my antlers. And this is only going to be for this closer antler. This farther antler is going to be a different color. So I'm gonna fill in this antler. And I'm doing my best. Obviously I'm going a little slow, trying to stay within all the lines, but I'm not gonna give myself a heart attack about it. I'm just going to go slow, take my time. You know, we're trying to keep it fun, so if it doesn't come out perfect, that's okay. Maybe he got into a scuffle and he messed up one of his antlers. Give him a backstory. Give him a story. And that is my front antler. And with the same color, I'm actually going to be lightly outlining my back antler as well. And I'm going to try to keep my outline on the inside of my lines rather than the outside as best as I can. I'm running out of paint. That's a pretty good outline. Now I am going to use my same brush with one part of my white and one part of my deep yellow to paint in that other antler. So I should have a nice light yellow. And I'll take that same brush and just lightly fill everything in. Doing my best to blend the outline. And then I am actually going to rinse my brush, pick up that same original brown that we had done for that front antler, and go right back in and bring it back. Because obviously we lost a little bit of that front antler. So I want to bring her back. Into the equation. Okay. Gorgeous. Now I'm going to take my same brush and I am just going to take 1 scoop of orange with 1 scoop of yellow and then a small amount of white. To make a nice light browny orangey color. And I'm going to use this color just to create some small highlights on the moose. So on his back up here, and then even down here. And then on his nose especially, blending that in with the rest of him. All right, gorgeous. Now, with my same brush, I'm going to rinse it first and then take 1 part of my yellow and then 1 part of my green and 1 part of my white. Mix that all together. You should get a nice light green. And I'm gonna take off a lot of that paint off my brush, leaving some, because I'm going to use this to add some highlights to my grass. Just the top of my grass. and then to my tree. I'm gonna go over all of my trees with this color. Bring it up. Just keep dotting on all my little leaves. Whenever I run out of paint, I'll just grab a little more. All right. Now I am rinsing off my brush once again. And I'm going to take my same brush with one part of my yellow, one part of my orange, oh, I'm sorry, one part of my yellow, a small amount of my orange, and then one part of my white, to make a nice light orangey color. And I am going to then again rub off a lot of that off my brush to have very little paint on my brush. And I am using this to add some highlights to my tree in certain places where I think that the sun would reflect. I'm gonna do that for all my trees. And you can notice that I'm kind of only putting it on the tippity tops of a few of my branches, because that's where I think that they would be highlighted with this color the most. And now I will wash off my brush for the last time. And with my final step, we will be mixing 2 parts of white with 1 part of our orange. Mixing that up. And now this color will be our sun. So I'm going to take a nice glob of that color, figure out where I want my sun to be. I think I'll have it right here. Perfect. And I might even want that a little darker, so I can add a little bit more orange to my mix. I want that a little darker, and I'll just go right back over. And now I will remove a lot of that paint from my brush once again, and I am going to add just a few reflection lines in our water. that is it. That is our Moose Lake painting all done. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Bye.